Welcome! Thank you for joining me on this rainy August day. It's the last day of August and it looks like fall is arriving early. Today we're in this 2018 Model S Long Range all-wheel drive. For 2018 you could get the Long Range in either rear-wheel drive with a single motor or all-wheel drive with dual motors. Pretty much after 2020 going forward, all variants of the Long Range Model 3 are now all-wheel drive with dual motors. So it has a motor in the front and the motor in the back, making it all-wheel drive, also making it pretty fast because it's like having two engines. All right, so instead of doing a walk-around video, we're going to change it up a little bit because it's kind of rainy and nasty out. This one could use a charge, so we're going to navigate this thing to the supercharger. One of the greatest benefits of having a Tesla is its amazing supercharging network. Tesla has, I think, 25,000 supercharging locations, the majority of them in the United States, so you can pretty much drive anywhere in the US and you can use supercharging to get you there. This has a fully charged range of about 300 miles, but with Teslas, for daily use, they don't recommend you charging the battery to 100% unless you have a Tesla equipped with an LFP battery, which, is it LFP? It's a lithium iron, not ion, iron like iron metal phosphate battery. So the new standard range rear-wheel drive Model 3, for instance, has an LFP battery. LFP batteries actually prefer to be charged to 100%. This has a lithium-ion battery. Lithium-ion batteries are a little bit different in chemistry. Lithium-ion batteries are a little bit more energy dense than lithium iron phosphate batteries, so they're lighter, comparable to the LFP batteries, and they unleash more power. You know, batteries are kind of like engines in your car. You can have the economy engine or you can have the performance engine. The LFP batteries are kind of like the, you know, the economy engine, where the lithium ion batteries, those are more like the performance. So you'll notice that the Tesla's equipped with the lithium ion batteries are actually a little bit faster. And generally the highest performance versions of the Teslas, like the Performances or the Plaids, those are going to have the lithium ion batteries. So this has lithium ion batteries. They don't like to be charged 100% all the time. It's okay, perfectly fine to charge it to 100% on a road trip, you know, but for daily use, Tesla recommends that you charge the battery to about 80%, just for the health of the lithium ion batteries. Tesla also has an amazing trip planner, which is very detailed. It looks at the ambient temperature outside, tire pressure, elevation, to help route you where you need to go. For instance, if I want to go to Spokane, which is well out of our range of 120 miles right now, it will figure it all out for me. It'll figure out where I need to charge, how long to charge for, and how much range I'll have when I get to Spokane. So I'm going to charge in North Bend, I'll arrive with 17%, charge for 20 minutes. Then I'll charge in Moses Lake, I'll arrive with 16% for 20 minutes, and then I'll arrive with Spokane for 18% of range. So you can see it's perfectly fine to get out to road trip in a vehicle like this, but we're not going to go to Spokane. We're going to navigate to the closest supercharger. In fact, they just built a new bank of superchargers close by, so let's go check them out. I've never been there before. So to find supercharging locations, if you're not routing anywhere, you click on this lightning bolt, and the one lightning bolt, that's the slow charging, so you're not going to go any, that's like if you're charging overnight at a hotel or something like that. Level 2 is a little bit faster. You'll add about 30 to 40 miles of range per hour, so that's maybe if you're going grocery shopping, going to a movie, you're going to be gone for a couple hours. So that's like the mid-level charging. Then the 3 lightning bolts, that's your fast charging, so that's what we want. So you can see there's a lot of fast charging locations in the Tacoma area. There's a bunch of choices, and generally it'll tell you on your app like if how many are available, and you know, supercharging rates can vary depending on how often they're used and the time of day, based on the electricity rate. So we're gonna go to this new 250 kilowatt Tacoma location. It's always good to navigate to the supercharger because it will precondition the battery for faster charging, so it's going to heat up the battery and get it to a happy temperature so it will charge as efficiently as possible. So let's go over to this supercharger and check it out. Let's put the wipers on. I'm a big fan of the Tesla product. I've been in the car business for well over 20 years. I have a love for gas cars. I own 2 gas cars myself. But I do also have a Tesla. I have a Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus. Very similar to this. Mine's a 2019. This one's got a little bit longer range than mine. My fully charged range is about 240 miles. This is a little over 300. And this has dual motors, where my Standard Range Plus just has 1 motor in the back. So Tesla has a great navigation system with premium connectivity, which is about 10 bucks a month, money well spent. You get these live Google Maps. Otherwise, you'll just have like a illustrated version like that. And you can also stream Netflix, stream music, things like that. So the premium connectivity is definitely, I think, well worth it for $10 a month. You can also use your cell phone as a hotspot, but you are limited as far as features goes versus premium connectivity. This one does not have the full self-driving. It has autopilot. Full self-driving is pretty amazing. My Tesla has full self-driving. We have a couple Teslas in stock right now that have full self-driving, but autopilot is still great on its own right. Autopilot is traffic-aware cruise control, which allows the vehicle to brake and accelerate in its own lane. So unlike full self-driving, it's not going to change lanes, or enhanced autopilot, it's not going to drive itself completely, but it will drive itself in its own lane. And where a lot of other car companies' ADAS systems, ADAS is an acronym, it stands for Advanced Driver's Assist Systems, they really are not usable on roads like this. Most of the time you have to use them on highways. The thing I like about autopilot, it will work on roads like this. I've used it on regular 2-lane roads, back roads, and it does a pretty good job steering. It's not going to take hairpin corners, but it does a pretty good job steering in its lane on back roads. But you have to be vigilant, keep your eye on things. These systems are mainly designed for the highway, and it does have limitations. It's not going to stop for stop signs. It's not going to stop for red lights. And it's not going to be able to take really sharp hairpin corners. But just as long as you keep that in your understanding, it's a great system. And in stop and go traffic or on a long road without any stoplights, you can get the autopilot, you know, it can get you going for a while. And basically the car is doing the work for you. It's taking the workload off you of driving, of steering, and keeping you centered in lane and braking, accelerating. You're just kind of like in supervisor mode. You're supervising the situation, and just paying attention, ready to intervene. Every once in a while when you have the autopilot on, it'll give you a nag encouraging you to show you're paying attention, jiggle the wheel, or mess with these little knobs right here. When we go on the highway shortly, we'll put on the autopilot and I'll show you how it works. And even though this is not the performance version of the Model 3, it's not the Plaid Model S, this thing is still very fast in its own right. It's faster than most gas-powered vehicles. You'd be able to put a lot of gas-powered sports cars to shame with how quick this thing is. Got a red light right here, green light, taken right off. And you can see I can get to 60 miles an hour, no effort at all. With electric motors, there's no transmission to change gears, there's only one gear. The engine does not have to rev to reach its peak power band. You just hit the throttle and you have instant throttle response. I can't talk to the throttle response on an EV is unparalleled to the throttle response on a gas-powered vehicle. In fact, after driving an EV like this for a while, then going back to a gas car, it almost seems archaic. You know, you can feel the transmission shifting gears. It does not feel smooth as an electric vehicle. You can feel the vibrations of the engine. Yeah, it's just an amazing driving experience being in an EV. And it's very serene and quiet in here. It's not overly cluttered with buttons and knobs. It's a very wonderful place to spend your daily commute. All right, this is a great opportunity to use Autopilot. Autopilot's available when the steering wheel is highlighted in gray, so I'm going to push down on this shifter knob twice. That's going to activate the Autopilot. You can see that the steering wheel is in blue. As long as the steering wheel is in blue, that means Autopilot is active. You can see the speed limit here is 60. We set the Autopilot at 38, so I'm going to raise it to 65 miles an hour and move with the flow of traffic. And this is great. So the car is doing the work for me. I'm keeping my hand on the wheel, showing the car I'm paying attention. There's a sensor right here, so sometimes if you squeeze the wheel a little bit here, or the car will give you a nag. It'll say, hey, you know, just jiggle the wheel a little bit. You can jiggle the wheel a bit without disengaging it, but if you do it too much, it's going to disengage the auto steer. But remember, the adaptive cruise control is on, so to completely shut off the system, you either hit the brake or you push up on the stalk, and that will shut the autopilot off. But I'm going to put it back on again, and we'll get rolling to our destination. Autopilot is really great in situations like this. I love driving, but I enjoy driving on back roads and beautiful roads. Driving on a highway in rain like this is almost torturous to me. So I can't tell you how nice it is to have the car take that workload off me. I'm just paying attention. The car is keeping the vehicle centered in its lane. It's moving with traffic. It sees the cars in front of it. In fact, statistically speaking, we're a lot safer right now with this car on autopilot versus a human driver. A human driver averages about 1 accident for every 500,000 miles driven, where data is showing that a vehicle on autopilot averages an accident, I think, every 2 or 3 million miles driven. So this autopilot system makes the vehicle safe. People can be distracted. They go on their phones, they daydream, they look at things. This car has cameras all around it. It does not get distracted. Sometimes it gets confused and it might get, you know, do something kind of weird, but that's why you're paying attention and keeping your hand on the wheel. These people that are hitting police cars, driving in the lakes, they're not following the directions for the autopilot because you're responsible. It's your job to supervise and intervene if you see something's happening. If you're about to rear end a police car parked on the side of the road, or a fire truck, you know, parked in the lane with its lights on, responding to an accident, for whatever reason, if the Tesla doesn't see it, it's your responsibility to stop the car. It's not Tesla's fault. Those people are ruining the fun for everyone else, you know, because now they have like these investigations for autopilot and stuff like that. And there's people that use cheating devices, but you know, you take a regular car and put it on cruise control and then you fall asleep, you know, that car is gonna keep on going. So, you know, regular cars can be dangerous too. I can also tell you that autopilot can be really helpful in dark, rainy weather. It's light out right now, but if it was raining like this and it was dark out, it'd be even harder to see. And I can tell you, I have pretty good vision, but sometimes when it's really dark out and raining, visibility is bad. You kind of have a tight grip on the wheel and you're just really concentrating hard just to keep your vehicle centered in this lane. Well, the Tesla's doing that for you. And you know, I can't really put it in words. You just have to experience, you know, that weight off of your shoulders that these ADAS systems provide. And it's not just Tesla that has these ADAS systems. A lot of car companies have them, but in my experience, I think Autopilot's probably, in my opinion, the easiest to use and I think the most advanced. But that's just my opinion. But I think a lot of other people also share that opinion with me, especially ones that have had a good amount of time behind the wheel of a Tesla. Some of these people that review Teslas and compare them to other EVs, like I was reading a comparison with, you know, they're comparing the Mach-E to the Model Y, to like the Hyundai Ioniq 5, which are all great EVs. But I think driving a Tesla for a day or two, you really have to drive it for a long period of time to really see the differences and the benefits. Another reason why I really like Tesla is the over-the-air updates. Tesla's a vertically integrated company. They make a lot of their parts. They do a lot of their software programming in-house, where a lot of other manufacturers rely on outside companies, outside part suppliers to cobble together these vehicles. Tesla tries to do the majority of its parts and construction of the vehicles, software, in-house. So, you know, pretty much every month we're getting over-the-air updates. There's some car companies with EVs that it's been many months or over a year since they were able to get an over-the-air update, because when you're relying on parts, you know, companies to make these parts for you and you're not doing it in-house, a lot of times you have to call up the part supplier, hey, I need a new you know, software update, and they'll be like, okay, we'll get right on that for you. We'll get that for you in a couple months. Where Tesla has their own in-house you know, software programmers, or they can just, you know, crank out these updates. Also for following distance, so this is the button to handle the cruise control. You can use this to adjust the following distance. So obviously the bigger the number, 4 is a greater following distance, where 1, well, only let me go to 2 on the highway is the shortest following distance. I'm kind of in a slow lane right now. I could kind of change into a faster lane, but I think we're gonna get off pretty soon. And it's pretty rainy. It looks like traffic's slowing down anyway, so this is a good spot to stay in. And you know, some ADAS systems also require you to be over a certain speed to use them. For instance, I was driving a Rivian that we had in stock the other day. Amazing all-electric pickup truck. Fantastic vehicle, but its ADAS system is definitely not to the degree of Autopilot, because with the Rivian, it wouldn't let me engage the auto cruise control till I was over like 30 miles an hour. Autopilot works all the way down to 0, and you don't have to reset it. Some other ADAS systems I've experienced, once you go to a 0, it stops, the system shuts off, and you have to re-engage it again once the traffic starts moving. Kind of a pain. The Autopilot, it just, you know, goes to a complete stop, and then it will keep on moving when the vehicles move again. It won't time out, you know, after being stopped for a couple minutes. You know, like I said, I think it's pretty far ahead compared to what a lot of other people have. And you know, some people ridicule the Teslas for having a sparse, plain interior. I like the sparseness. It's not overly cluttered with buttons and knobs, and there's a magic to having this screen. Since you know, there's not hard buttons tied to a lot of these things, the majority of the functionality is in the screen right here, so it's infinitely configurable. When you have hard buttons and knobs, those are there forever. You can't reconfigure them. But the screen is infinitely configurable. You can get an update, and there's been a lot of updates where they've changed the display, they've added features, they've added new games, they've added, you know, TikTok, they've added Disney Plus, they make improvements to Autopilot, and then it keeps it relevant. You know, even though this Tesla's a 2018, this screen, the way it looks, the display, the functionality is very similar to what you get in a 2023 Tesla. I jiggled the wheel a little bit, it was giving me a nudge. Sometimes you do it a little bit too much and it disengages it, so I just re-engaged it. Yes, so you know, this stays relevant. So even though, like my Tesla, or this Tesla is not a brand new 2023, this is a 2018, the screen, the functionality looks pretty much identical to what you get in a brand new 2023 Tesla. The processor in the screen might not be as fast as the newest one, but for the most part, you have the majority of the functionality. It's just kind of like, you know, your iPhone. You don't have to have the latest, you know, iPhone to, you know, use the latest version of iOS. You don't have to have a latest iPhone to use all the apps and stuff like that. So yeah. Looks like we're getting pretty close to this supercharger. Some of the superchargers can get pretty full. The next closest supercharger to us was in Federal Way, and that seemed to always be full. Where this one doesn't seem to be full at all. And this is a higher speed one. It will tell you some superchargers will be like 150 kilowatts or 250. There's a Tesla support person. Mobile repair portion, that's another thing to talk about. So the Tesla superchargers are fairly easy. You just back it right in. You have your Tesla app. So when you have your Tesla app, you just add a credit card there, and then it will bill you automatically for supercharging. Where I was using Electrify America to charge the Rivian, and you just have to back up all the way. It has short cables. They have these little bump stops here. There we go. You know, I had to use my credit card to pay for it. Here, it's a lot simpler. So you just grab it, put that button right there, pop it in, and then boom, you're charging. And the Tesla chargers, even the fast charging cables, are really nice. The fast charging for the Electrify America is huge and heavy. It was like almost using a holding a fire hose. So you can see we're starting the charge. So it's 104 kilowatts. And that's a nice thing too. And the thing is, when you have more vehicles charging, it won't go over a certain kilowatts. That's how, you know, the capacity. These are up to 250 kilowatts. When I was using the Electrify America, it said it could charge up to 150 kilowatts, which were pretty close to here. But even though I was the only one there, I could not get it to charge to more than 50 kilowatts. And it took me a long time. I was surprised. People, I think, were angry because I saw some people who took a pen and crossed out the 150 and wrote in 50, probably out of frustration. Where, you know, these are up to 250, but, you know, it's not anywhere near 250, but it's at 135, so it's adding 520 miles per hour to the vehicle. So just after plugging it in, which only has been a minute, it's already added 6 miles of range. And the charge limit here is 243 miles, which is about 80%. Generally on high capacity superchargers, they won't let you charge to 100%. Usually they'll cut you off at 80%, for good reason. You know, the way batteries work is that the fuller they get, the slower they charge. So generally when a battery is empty, it's going to charge the fastest, and as it gets fuller and fuller, the charge rate will gradually slow down. So once you charge to 80 to 90 or 90%, that last 10% or 20% to get in the battery can take a lot longer. So that's why generally they throttle you down to not charging more to 80%, which is fine for most fast charging. And the thing is too, you don't need to charge this thing to full charge. If you only have like 40 or 50 miles, 30 miles to your destination, you don't have to wait to 80%. There's times where I've rolled in to the supercharger with about 20 miles of range. I ran across the street to Starbucks and came back, and then, you know, after 5 minutes I was already at 100 miles. So after 10 minutes I have enough range to get to my destination. Then, you know, if you're home, you can plug it in, and then, you know, you get a full charge overnight, so you don't have to worry about, you know, any more charging. And this tells me what they charge. So right now they've added 17 miles of range, and they've charged me about $1.67 for it. Supercharging prices vary, I think, on how often the superchargers are used and the time of day. So like electricity rates aren't always the same. That's the reason why I plug it when I charge my Tesla overnight. Let's take out the Tesla app and talk about it while we have this thing charging. So the Tesla app's also another amazing thing. I haven't seen an app that's anywhere near Tesla. So if I'm not near my vehicle, if I'm shopping, I can check the status of my Tesla, and I can tell you that if you do have a full charge at the supercharger and you leave your vehicle parked here, you know, taking up that spot for other people to use, Tesla will charge you like $1 a minute throttle fee for you know, having a charged vehicle taking up a supercharging space. So you don't get, it will remind you that your vehicle is full. You'll get a notification, but you can also keep track of what's going on here on the app. So if you're going to be away for a long time, it would be better to go to a slower charger where you won't get those, you don't have to worry about getting those throttle charges. So you have this amazing Tesla app, and you can schedule charging. So for instance, well, it won't let me do it because the vehicle's charging right. It won't let me open this up because it's charging right now. But when I plug my Tesla in at home, I set it up so it will not start charging until 12 a.m. That way, I know at 12 a.m. most people are sleeping, so that's generally when the electricity rates are low. So if you're worried about, you know, getting overcharged for EV charging at your home, you can set your Tesla up so it will charge overnight. And it only takes, well, I have a 220 charger set up, a 220 outlet. That adds about 30 plus mile of range per hour. So I can get a full charge in, you know, 2 to 4 hours on my Tesla. So I could even have it charged at 2 or 3 a.m. and I'll still have a full charge the next morning. And if you don't drive a lot, these things actually charge okay, like just off a 110 outlet. Generally, before I had my 220 outlet, I could get 60 to 70 miles of range overnight on my 220 outlet. And honestly, I don't drive more than 20-30 miles a day. So for the most part, I could get a full charge overnight off a 110 outlet. But if you do use it more often, you know, it's nice to have that 220 outlet. Look at, we already have another software update. You can pull up the location of your Tesla if it's parked in the parking lot. You can find nearby chargers and navigate there. You can activate the climate control system, so if it's really cold or hot outside, you can warm up or cool down your vehicle. You can also have a scheduled departure. So for instance, if you leave the same time every morning, you can set your climate control, and being it's really cold or hot outside, the car can be at a nice temperature, and even more importantly, since the car knows you're leaving, it will start warming up the battery. So when you are using your Tesla, that battery being warmed up will make it more efficient. So that's why you can do scheduled departures, which is really nice. And you can use your phone as a key. I don't have the actual key to this vehicle. It's back at the store. But I use my phone as a key. We have a corporate account, and you can see I have all the Teslas that our store owns on my app. So I don't need keys for any of these. I just go, walk up, get in and go, and then I walk away, and it will automatically lock itself. It saw me change vehicles, put it back there. You can also pull up live cameras with Sentry mode. It's not going to let me do it now, which is really nice. And then you have a 360 dash cam while you're driving, so that's even nice. There's one instance where we had a weirdo I had to kick off the lot, and I knew my car had a dash cam, so I just drove it up there to kick him off, just in case he got, you know, funny with me, and I needed some video footage or pictures of the guy for the cops. You know, it's just all automatic. It has a USB drive where you can put a data drive and or record the data for you. Servicing the Tesla is really nice too. There's a mobile service person right there. I think that might be the same guy who came before. So basic repairs on Teslas, or you know, basic maintenance like wiper blades, cabin filters, you know, basic stuff you don't need to take to the Tesla dealership. A lot of times they'll come to your home or work. You'll have the service person come. You communicate from through the app. They can get access to your vehicle. You don't even need to go out there and talk to them. It can all be done remotely. You know. So the thing I like about Tesla is it seems like they do everything they can to keep you out of the service department, which is nice. Tesla's a vertically integrated, you know, company. Their approach to service is different. Where a franchise, you know, business model, it seems like they want you to go to service so they can upsell you. You know, they charge you that extra $10 to put nitrogen in your tires. Oh, you need to do a brake flush at 10,000 miles. Oh, you need to do an EFI service. You need to do a fuel system service, fuel injection service. You know, we got to clean the carbon out of your engine. Electric vehicles are very simple. There's a lot less to go wrong. You have thousands of moving parts with a gas car, where a Tesla has dozens, or an EV has dozens. You know, you don't have, you know, catalytic converters to fail or for someone to steal. You don't have a transmission to go bad. You don't have, you know, oil leaks. You don't have to worry about coolant leaks. They're fairly simple and straightforward. And then let's talk about the batteries. People will worry, well, what happens when the batteries go bad? Well, it's just like a engine in your car. The batteries aren't really designed to be replaced. They're supposed to last the service life of the engine. So, you know, realistically, the battery in this thing should last 200, maybe even 300,000 miles, maybe even more. But you have a lot of warranty. So, for instance, the basic warranty is up on this. It's a 2018 with a little under 60,000 miles. But you can see the battery and the drive unit, so the battery and electric motors, they are under warranty all the way up to September 26, 2026, or 120,000 miles. Right now it's August of 2023 and it has 60,000 miles, so it's quite a while before you'll have to worry about the batteries going bad. And yeah, you know, when the batteries go bad, or if they go bad, it can be expensive to replace. It can be $20,000 or $30,000. But guess what? Your BMW, Mercedes, your engine goes bad in that, and your Audi, especially a fancy, you know, turbo V6 or V8, it could be $30,000, $40,000 for a new engine at a BMW or Mercedes dealership if that goes bad. So my experience, you know, the cost of replacing a battery in the car is the same as replacing an engine. So, you know, there's a lot of, you know, disinformation out there for EVs and scare tactics. There's people saying, oh, I'm waiting for the technology to get there. Well, it's there. You know, there's a reason right now the Tesla Model Y, which is a crossover version of the 3, is the best-selling car in the world right now, beating the Corolla. And in the US market, you know, we're competing against like the Ford F-Series, which is #1, and the Chevy Silverado, which is #2. There's a lot of fleet and commercial business, you know, inflating those numbers. Where the Tesla Model Y, not so much. That's the 4th best-selling car right now in the United States. Not the 4th best-selling EV, the 4th best-selling car. So obviously the technology is there for that many people to start buying them. And in this little amount of time, we've added 71 miles of range and only 14 minutes left. So these things charge very fast. We don't have to stay here the whole time. I actually got to use the bathroom. So we'll cut this short. You can just hit stop charging and then you go out there. So for adding 73 miles of range, it's charged me $6.71. Obviously, they inflate the prices at the fast charge. You have to pay a premium for it. It's going to be a lot cheaper to supercharge, or not supercharge, but to charge your car at home, where the electricity rates are the cheapest. But for a road trip or in a pinch, this is amazing. Thanks so much for taking the time today to watch this video. Hopefully it was informative. Hope to see you soon and have a wonderful day.